In 300 BC, in the city of Cyprus, there was a wealthy trader named Zeno. During a voyage from Phoenicia to Piraeus, his ship was wrecked and everything he owned sank to the ocean floor. With this one uncontrollable event, Zeno, once a man of immense wealth, was reduced to nothing in an instant. Imagine you were Zeno, your entire life's work, gone in a moment due to forces beyond your control. What would be the right response? Would you be angry, devastated? Would you feel as though life had cheated you? For most people, these would be natural reactions, but not for Zeno's man, who would later establish Stoicism. A small shift in perspective can create endless ripples, and sometimes, just one minor change in mindset can lead to life-altering transformations over time. At its core, Stoicism is about acceptance and resilience, the ability to remain unshaken in the face of adversity. After reading the teachings of Socrates and other great thinkers, Zeno developed Stoicism and began teaching its principles. In his philosophy, he emphasized that while we may lack control over external events, we do possess control over how we respond to them, and this is where our greatest strength lies. Instead of dwelling on his loss, Zeno chose to maintain his composure, remaining calm and detached, despite the disastrous turn of events. Today, people tend to view Stoics as individuals who are emotionally unbreakable, as those who rarely experience extreme emotions, whether it be rage, anxiety, or despair. But in reality, Stoicism was never just about emotional detachment. It was more than a label. It was a philosophical framework, a way of viewing, analyzing, and navigating the world, a way of life that has endured for centuries. Just as it was applicable thousands of years ago, Stoic philosophy remains just as practical and transformative today. Its principles allow us to process negativity, turning adverse experiences into valuable lessons. Perspective is everything. Since the early Stoics gathered and shared ideas in public spaces, their philosophy was accessible to everyone. They strongly believed that Stoic principles were universal and could benefit all people, which is why they refused to limit their knowledge to the walls of elite schools or royal courts. This accessibility meant that anyone, from slaves to emperors, could study and practice Stoicism, and many did. Some of the most famous Stoics include Epictetus, whose name translates to acquired as he was once enslaved, Seneca, a respected statesman, and Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men in history. The early Stoics lived their values, actively rejecting social segregation and promoting equality. In fact, the term cosmopolitan, meaning citizen of the world, was coined by them. Today, when we think of cosmopolitan cities, places like New York, Toronto, Dubai, or London come to mind, as they embody diversity and unity, a concept that Stoics championed centuries ago. At the time Stoicism first emerged, women were largely excluded from philosophy, but the Stoics stood firmly against this. Musonius Rufus, the mentor of Epictetus, once stated, "It is not men alone who possess eagerness and a natural inclination toward virtue, but women also. Women are pleased no less than men by noble and just deeds, and reject the opposite of such actions." Since that is so, why is it appropriate for men to seek out and examine how they might live well? That is, to practice philosophy, but not women. Even at a time when this view was unpopular, the Stoics welcomed women into their teachings, believing that wisdom and virtue should be available to all. Why do so many people turn to Stoicism? In a world filled with unexpected challenges, emotions can often become our biggest obstacles, but in reality, we don't get upset simply because bad things happen. We get upset because unexpected bad things happen. Take rain, for example. It's a necessary phenomenon, beneficial for plants, animals, and ecosystems. But when we're caught outside without an umbrella, we don't think of its necessity, we think of its inconvenience. So why don't we break down in frustration every time it rains? Because we have learned to expect it. It's a natural part of life, something we can't control, so we adapt. Stoicism teaches us the same lesson. The worst outcomes in life are often inevitable. If we anticipate them, we strip them of their power over us. One of the key Stoic exercises is called voluntary discomfort, a practice meant to increase resilience and gratitude. It involves willingly exposing yourself to discomfort, like sleeping on the floor, taking cold showers, or eating only basic foods for days. This practice demonstrates that, no matter how tough conditions become, we can still survive, and even thrive, with the right mindset. By willingly enduring small struggles, we prepare ourselves for greater hardships ahead. The dichotomy of control. In today's world, where advertisements constantly bombard us, we are led to believe that happiness comes from owning more, achieving more, and being more. But in truth, the Stoic mindset is more important now than ever. We are born knowing nothing. We learn from family, skill, and life experiences, but oftentimes, these sources of knowledge contradict one another. The question is, must we internalize everything we are taught? If we do, we risk creating unrealistic expectations for our lives, which can ultimately lead to disappointment and dissatisfaction. That's no way to live. Instead, we should focus on improving ourselves for our own sake, doing things for their intrinsic value, rather than for external validation. If we base our happiness on external factors, we place our well-being in the hands of things we cannot control, and everything outside of our control is inherently unstable. At the core of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, which teaches us to separate what we can control from what we cannot. Epictetus once wrote, "The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself, which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control." A true Stoic does not measure success by external rewards, but by the effort invested. It is not about the outcome, but rather the process. Final thought: there are four main virtues in Stoicism: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. Each plays a crucial role in navigating life with purpose and discipline. Stoicism is not about eliminating emotions, it's about mastering them. It teaches us to embrace life's uncertainties, preparing us for both success and failure. And in the end, when our journey comes to a close, we can take comfort in knowing we lived virtuously, not fearfully. Because at the end of the day, everything has an end.